briefly. Okay, we talking about the Thai student also maybe same as your point also, but maybe we have the Thai student, we have culture like such as relax, sabai chill, you know. We are sometimes most of them like the more passive student, they like to listen, right? Sometimes they do not have ask question. When the teacher asks you, okay, you เข้าใจไหม do you understand? Okay, เข้าใจ understand. But most of them will answer you like this, right? We think that maybe suit with the learning style as such as the you know, with the field independence.
Sure.
And that you can see that if you see some table, I'm not sure that what the table that can compare some kind of the student of the character of the student field independent and independent. It can be reflected some of Thai student character in that. Maybe you can see that. And for when we're talking about the Western, some Western country that maybe we will see that more active learners, and most of them is really with what we call field independence learning style. This is the thing that our group has discussed. Thank you.
Great, thanks.
And maybe get one more. Yeah, one more person. Anybody else to jump in?
We actually went off topic and we spoke more about our learning styles.
Nothing's off topic. Come on up, Rachel.
Uh-oh. Got caught. Come on. Come on down. Guys.
We actually talking about how learning style is related to learning outcome. We look into visual, auditory, kinesthetic, but we fail to realize that the outcome is different as well. We look mostly into assessing students and what they write down on paper. So like we talked about your student earlier, how you said that you were trying to explain him everything about responsibility, but you could only see the outcome in the end when he drew the drawing and he understood everything. So we so focus on getting the information out on paper. That's how we assess them. But a lot of students understand it. They might learn it differently. Okay, everybody's listening here, but everybody's going to produce it differently. Some people might not do well academically, but they're good in real life situations because they're able to apply the information out. How some people write better, some people are able to express better. Some people are even better at, making models out of it. So they understand it completely, and they're just not able to express it verbally. So that's what we were having a discussion about how we should also change our assessment ways and how different cultures might have different, ways of getting the outcome.
Okay, thank you. That's great. Thank you.
Okay, I appreciate people coming up, especially since I didn't warn you I was going to do that. So I appreciate it even more. I think that's a lot of what we're talking about. I think that establishes some of those connections. What I want to do is I want to go back to some of the questions Doyle talked about, and I want to mention, what we're not going to do is we're not going to cover Piaget in any kind of detail here. They talk about Piaget in your reading a little bit, and we'll do sort of quick and dirty, the same thing again, with that little phrase, but we'll do a quick and dirty version of Piaget. Now when I say quick and dirty, by the way, I don't mean it hasn't had a wash in a couple of weeks. Okay, again, as Doyle said, being sensitive to ESL students, maybe I need to explain. When you say quick and dirty, it just means explaining something that could be complicated in as simple a way as possible and reasonably quickly. That's the quick part. And the dirty part means it actually comes, my understanding, okay, it comes from the military where it's kind of literal. Is that you might be on the back of a Jeep somewhere, okay, and you got to come up with some kind of attack plan because you got an enemy machine gun nest over there, and you got 6 or 10 troops that you have to do it, and it's midnight, and you got a little flashlight because if you put on a big light, they'll find you and kill you, right? So you got a little teeny flashlight, and you might be down there in the dirt somewhere by the bottom of the Jeep, or by the wheels of the Jeep, and you're going to explain, this guy's going here, this guy's going here, and when you get here, you shoot quickly to make sure everybody knows you're in place, and then we attack. That's it. Quick plan. It takes about, so that's the quick and dirty version, okay? So if we're going to do Piaget quick and dirty, okay? And I want to write the stages down. Maybe it's It's good Lowell didn't write his questions down, because now I got a board to write on, I don't have to erase, so. Anyway, and like I say, this is going to be very simple. And this is useful for exactly, because Loyal said, going back to what Loyal said, he said, well, some of these issues aren't necessarily cultural, they're just human. Is that we all have this, doesn't matter where we come from, okay? And this Piaget is just a simplification of how we develop. And it's very helpful to understanding how students develop. So what he calls the sensory motor stage, and we're going to talk about these for a few minutes, so don't worry if you don't understand when I write them down. If you don't understand this yet, that's okay. Up to around 2 years, so we'll say 0, infancy, right out of the womb, okay, to about 2 years. And these vary, and some students are late, which is important, because then you can understand that this student might be in a stage below where they are. Guess what that changes? It changes how you teach them. Okay? So that's one of the reasons. This is useful to know that these are only guidelines, and some students are late. Some are also ahead of the game. Also changes how you teach them, because they're ahead of the game. Okay? So then we have pre-operational. If I write any of these down wrong, I won't be offended if you tell me, because I just wrote quick notes here. And it is possible I may have written something
2 to 7.
incorrect. Pardon?
2 to 7, I was going to say.
Yeah. But, so I don't mind being corrected on any of this. In fact, at any time, if I write
Concrete
something wrong, tell me.
operations.
Concrete operations, which goes to,
7,
it's sort
11.
of 7 plus, okay? And then we go to what we call formal
Formal operations.
operations. Formal operations,
11 plus.
and this is, I thought they had 15. Does 11?
Well, some books say 7, 11,
Okay.
11 plus,
So we'll
etc.,
say, we'll
etc.
say 15, but again, it varies. Some are earlier. Some may be as early as 11 or 12, as Mark said. Okay, these numbers are only guidelines. Now, interestingly enough, Piaget, who wrote thousands and thousands of pages when he was doing his study in that, actually what he did is he mostly observed his own kids in the early stages. I think later he observed other children. But a lot of his work, it's kind of interesting, because I mean, I've got a couple of boys, don't seem as well. I've got a 4-year-old and a 5-year-old, and most of the time I'm so busy trying to lap them, sometimes play with them at the same speed, sometimes keep them from killing themselves, okay, with the dangerous things they get in. I can't imagine how you would be able to sit down and write what's going on, but that's what Piaget did. And he wrote everything they were doing, and then he started looking at trends. So he, I guess, would be somewhere in the middle between the field dependent and the field independent, is that he was able to write down all those details, but then later he was able to go to a more field dependent, and able to put it together and make a picture of it. Okay, so he was more of a sort of a balance. But anyway, he came up these stages, and the sensory motor stage, which means that everything has to do with the touch and the feel. You know, you see the infants. You see infants or children, 1 or 2. What do they always want to do? You want to get their what? What do they want to do?
Hands on it.
They're reaching their hands up, right? Okay, and they're looking, right? They see, if you walk, when you're big, and you start to come up to them, they're like, oh, wow, that's big, Because you're so much bigger than that, right? So everything is sensual. Everything is to do with the senses, right? The feel, the touch, the seeing. They're just getting in the stage of how their senses work, and then later, the motor stage, you're walking around. One of the things you have to do with little kids is, like I said, you have to stop them from killing themselves. Okay, because they see a car going down the road at 60 kilometers an hour. They want to know what it feels like, Let's run in front of it. Okay, guess what you have to do? You have to do this football thing. Ah, Jesus, come. Right? And this is a common, right? Oh, this is true. You remember this, right? Long ago, right? Sometimes still happens, right? So this is, everything is to do with the sensory. When you get to pre-operational, the interesting thing what you got to remember with kids is, you need to try to remember what stage they're at,